Hello and welcome. Today, we are diving deep into one of the biggest hurdles for any English learner. You know the one. It's moving past just being correct to sounding truly natural. And we're going to do it using a tool that's, well, a little bit surprising and honestly often misunderstood. So, are you ready to sound less like you're reading a script and more like you're just chatting with a friend? Let's get into it. Does this feel a little too familiar? You've spent hours on grammar, your vocabulary is solid, but when you actually speak, something just feels off, like you're reciting lines from a textbook. You know you're not making mistakes, but you're also not really connecting. If you've ever felt that way, trust me, you are in exactly the right place. So here's our game plan. First, we'll break down the huge difference between correct and natural English. Then, I'll let you in on the secret ingredient. After that, we'll build a practical toolkit you can use right away, cover the super important rules, and finally, talk about how to make all of this a real part of your everyday life. Okay, let's jump right into our first big topic, what it really means to sound correct versus sounding natural. This is all about bridging that gap between what you learn in a classroom and how people actually talk. Just look at this example. If someone drops their coffee, saying, "That is an unfortunate event," well, it's 100% correct, but it's also kind of cold, right? A little robotic. What you'd probably hear is something like, "Never mind, it could have been worse." See the difference? It's warmer, it's more human, it shows you get it. That's the feeling we're going for. So how do we get that natural sound? Well, this might actually shock you, but the answer is clichés. Yeah, I know. We're always told to avoid them in writing, but in spoken English, they are an absolutely essential secret ingredient. So let's just throw out that old, boring definition of cliché. For our purposes, a cliché isn't lazy, it's the secret sauce. These are the phrases that add that extra flavor, that emotion, and that cultural shorthand to what you're saying. They're like little packets of meaning that everyone understands instantly. I love this way of thinking about them. Clichés are social lubricants. What does that mean? Well, they just make conversations run smoother. They help you avoid awkward silences and build a real, genuine connection. They signal that you don't just know the language, you understand the culture behind it. All right, that's enough theory. Let's get practical and start building your toolkit. We're going to walk through 3 incredibly useful phrases that you can literally start using today. First up, we have a classic. This is a fantastic way to show that you really agree with someone. You can say that again. Now, the context here is everything. This is not just a casual "I agree." This is for when you feel that agreement in your bones, when someone says something you are already thinking. And here's a really important tip. It does not mean you want them to repeat what they said. That's a common mistake. It's just a figure of speech. I mean, we've all been in this situation, right? Your coworker leans over and complains about a meeting that's dragging on. You feel the exact same way. When you say, "You can say that again," boom, instant connection. You're on the same team. It's a great little bonding moment. Okay, next up in our toolkit, a phrase for offering a bit of comfort and perspective. It's not the end of the world. This one is your go-to for gentle reassurance. You use it when a friend is really stressing out about something that is, in the grand scheme of things, a pretty small deal. It helps them take a breath and see the bigger picture without making them feel like their feelings don't matter. So in a scenario like this, your friend is just crushed about failing their test. You're not saying it's nothing. You're just reminding them that it's not a permanent disaster. It shows you care, but it also helps them remember that they can bounce back. And for our third phrase, this one is so visual you can almost feel it. It's for those moments of pure frustration. It's like banging your head against a brick wall. You get this one immediately, right? It just perfectly captures that feeling of trying and getting absolutely nowhere. Usually it's because you're dealing with someone who won't listen or a system that just won't budge. Here's a perfect way to use it. Instead of going into a long, complicated story about why you're so frustrated, this one vivid phrase says it all. People instantly understand the feeling you're describing. Okay, so now you've got the tools, but any tool's only as good as the person using it, right? So this next part is maybe the most important. We're talking about the unwritten rules for using these phrases without sounding awkward. Just remember these 4 simple things. Number 1, context is king. You have to read the room. Number 2, and this is so important, your tone of voice changes everything. You have to sound genuine. Third, don't be a one-trick pony. Mix it up. And last, know your setting. These are for casual chats with friends, not for your next business presentation. And please, please, try to avoid these common traps. Don't ever translate them word for word from your own language. And crucially, match the emotion of the phrase to the situation. Telling someone who has experienced a real tragedy it's not the end of the world is a terrible, terrible idea. And finally, take it easy. Sprinkle these in your conversation. Don't pour them all over it. So, the big question is, how do you actually make this stuff a part of you? How do we go from just watching this explainer to using these phrases without even thinking about it? Let's talk about turning learning into living. Here is your action plan. First, try the 3-day challenge. Just pick one phrase and make it your personal mission to use it 3 times in the next few days. Second, become a detective. When you're watching TV or movies, listen for these phrases. Notice how the characters say them and when they use them. And finally, just practice. Grab a friend and try them out. It might feel weird at first, but it gets easier. And that really brings us to our final thought, which is probably the most important cliche of all for anyone learning a language. You're gonna make mistakes. You'll probably use a phrase at the wrong time once or twice, and you know what? That's totally okay, because every single time that happens, you're not failing, you're learning. That's how this works. You live and you learn. So, which phrase are you gonna try first?